Have you ever been driving down the highway, maybe listening to the radio or daydreaming about what you are going to have for dinner, when suddenly a giant tow truck zooms past you? It has bright flashing yellow lights on the top, a massive flatbed on the back, and it looks like a giant metal transformer. You watch it speed by, and a thought pops into your head. You think to yourself, wow, I wonder how much money that guy makes. People are always breaking down. Cars are always crashing. People are always parking where they are not supposed to park. That guy must be printing his own money. It seems like the perfect business. You buy a truck, you hook up broken cars, you drop them off at a mechanic, and you collect a giant pile of cash. But is it really that simple? Today, we are going to look at the real economics of owning a tow truck. We are going to look at exactly how much it costs to start, how much money you can actually make, and the secret hidden things that nobody tells you about this business. By the end of this video, you will know if owning a tow truck is a genius way to get rich or a giant trap that will eat all of your money. And we are going to make it so simple that anyone can understand it. To understand the towing business, we need to invent a person. Let us call our guy Bob. Bob works at a normal job. He sits at a desk, he looks at a computer, and he hates it. Bob wants to be his own boss. He wants to work outside. He wants to build a business that gives him freedom. So Bob decides he is going to start a towing company. Bob thinks it is going to be easy, but Bob is about to learn his first very expensive lesson. And that lesson is the cost of the truck itself. When Bob goes shopping for a tow truck, he realizes very quickly that these machines are not like buying a normal car. There are basically two main types of tow trucks Bob can buy. The first is called a wrecker. This is the old school tow truck you see in cartoons. It has a big boom on the back with cables, and it lifts the car by the front or back wheels and drags it along the road. The second type is a flatbed. This is a big truck with a long flat back that tilts down to the ground. You drive the broken car up onto the bed, and the car rides safely on top of the truck. Flatbeds are very popular right now because they are safer for fancy cars and electric cars. Bob wants a flatbed. He goes to the dealership and asks for the price of a brand new flatbed tow truck. The salesman looks at him and says that a brand new medium-duty flatbed truck is going to cost somewhere between $95,000 and $160,000. Bob almost falls over. That is the price of a small house. If Bob buys a brand new truck, his monthly payment to the bank is going to be massive. He might have to pay $2,500 every single month just to own the truck. That means Bob has to do a lot of towing just to pay the bank before he even gets to buy himself a sandwich. But there is a good thing about a new truck. A new truck comes with a warranty. It has 0 miles on it. It is not going to break down anytime soon. When you own a tow truck, the truck is your only way to make money. If your truck is broken and sitting at the mechanic, it is a giant useless paperweight. You are making $0. So a new truck gives you peace of mind. But Bob does not have $160,000 or the credit to get a loan that big. So Bob looks at the second option. He looks at buying a used tow truck. A used tow truck that is maybe 10 years old will cost a lot less. Bob finds a decent-looking used flatbed for about $35,000. That sounds much better. His monthly payment will be very low. He can afford that easily. But here is the trap. The used truck is a gamble. Tow trucks live a very hard life. They are carrying thousands of pounds of heavy metal every single day. They are driven over potholes, through rain, and over dirt roads. The engines are constantly running. When you buy a used tow truck, you are buying a machine that has been beaten up for years. If Bob buys the used truck, his monthly payment is low, but his repair bills might be huge. One month, the transmission might break. That is $4,000. The next month, the hydraulic system that lifts the bed might leak. That is another $2,000. Plus, remember the golden rule. When the truck is in the shop, Bob is making $0. So Bob has a choice. He can pay a huge monthly payment for a new truck, or he can pay a low monthly payment for a used truck, but risk having giant repair bills. There is no magical cheap way to get a good tow truck. It takes serious money just to get into the game. Bob decides to take a risk and buys a used flatbed truck for $40,000. He is officially in the towing business. Now Bob has his truck. He thinks he is ready to print money. But Bob is about to meet the invisible monsters that eat tow truck profits. Imagine Bob has a big bucket. Every time he does a tow, he puts some money in the bucket. But Bob does not realize his bucket has giant holes in the bottom of it. The money drains out almost as fast as he can put it in. The first giant hole in Bob's bucket is insurance. Commercial tow truck insurance is incredibly expensive. Why is it so expensive? Think about what a tow truck driver actually does. Bob is going to park a giant heavy truck on the side of a busy highway where cars are flying by at 70 miles per hour. He is going to operate heavy machinery. He is going to lift someone else's expensive car up into the air. If Bob makes one mistake, he could drop a car on the highway. If a driver is not paying attention, they could crash into Bob's truck. Because the job is so dangerous, the insurance companies charge a fortune. A normal tow truck business pays around $700 to $1,000 a month just for insurance on one truck. That is just the average. If Bob has a bad driving record, or if he lives in a busy city, his insurance could be double that amount. That means the first $1,000 Bob makes every single month does not go to him. It goes straight to the insurance company. The second giant hole in the bucket is fuel. Tow trucks are heavy. They are built like brick walls. And when they are carrying another car on their back, they are even heavier. Tow trucks get terrible gas mileage. A typical medium-duty tow truck might only get 8 to 10 miles per gallon. And they run on diesel fuel, which is very expensive. Bob is going to be driving around all day long. He is going to be idling his engine while he hooks up cars. Bob might spend $1,500 to $2,000 a month just on diesel fuel. So let us do some simple math. Before Bob can even pay his rent, buy his groceries, or take his wife out to dinner, he has to pay his truck loan, his insurance, and his fuel bill. That means Bob might have to make $4,000 a month just to break even. If he makes $4,000, his profit is zero. He is working for free. So how does Bob actually fill the bucket? How does a tow truck make money? There are a few different ways, and they are very different from each other. The first way Bob can make money is called retail towing. This is when a regular person like you or me breaks down on the side of the road. Your engine starts smoking, you pull over, and you search on your phone for a tow truck near me. You call Bob. Bob says he will be there in 30 minutes. Bob comes out, puts your car on his flatbed, and drives you to your mechanic. Bob will charge you what is called a hook fee and a mileage fee. The hook fee is a flat rate just to put the car on the truck. Let us say that is $75. Then Bob charges $4 for every mile he drives. If the mechanic is 10 miles away, Bob charges $40 for the mileage. Your total bill is $115. You pay Bob in cash or with a credit card. Bob loves retail towing because he gets paid immediately. But the problem is, retail towing is very unpredictable. Bob cannot control when people's cars break down. Some days his phone rings all day long. Other days the phone does not ring at all, and Bob sits in his truck staring at the steering wheel, making $0. To fix this problem, Bob looks at the second way to make money. This is called working for motor clubs. Motor clubs are companies that offer roadside assistance programs. When people buy car insurance, or when they buy a new car, they usually get roadside assistance. If they break down, they call a toll-free number, and the motor club sends a tow truck. The motor clubs do not own their own tow trucks. They hire local guys like Bob to do the work. The great thing about working for a motor club is that they have a lot of customers. They can send Bob a lot of work. The phone will ring all day, but there is a massive catch. The motor clubs want to pay Bob as little as humanly possible. While Bob might charge a normal person $115 for a tow, the motor club will call Bob and say, "We have a customer broken down, but we are only going to pay you $35 to do the job." Bob has to make a hard choice. Does he take the $35, which barely covers his diesel fuel and his time, or does he sit around and make $0? Many tow truck drivers hate working for motor clubs because the profit margins are so incredibly tiny. You have to work like a dog, doing 10 or 15 tows a day just to make a tiny bit of profit. It wears out the truck, it wears out the driver, and it barely pays the bills. Bob tries doing motor club calls for a week, and he realizes he is working 14 hours a day and he is totally exhausted, but his bank account is barely growing. So Bob starts asking around. He asks the older, richer tow truck drivers what their secret is. How do people actually get rich in the towing business? And the older guys smile and tell Bob the great secret of the towing industry. They tell him about the golden goose. And the golden goose is police towing and impound lots. Let me explain how this works, because this is the part of the business that completely changes the math. Every single day, cars get in accidents. Every single day, people get arrested for driving without a license. Every single day, people park their cars blocking fire hydrants. When the police need a car moved, they do not call a cheap motor club. They call a towing company that has a special contract with the city. The city sets the prices for police towing, and the prices are usually very high. Instead of fighting over a $35 motor club call, a police tow might pay $150 or $250. But that is not even the best part. When Bob does a police tow, he does not take the car to the owner's house. He takes the car to his own impound lot. An impound lot is just a big piece of empty land with a tall fence around it and a locked gate. When Bob drops the car in his lot, the magic begins. Bob charges a storage fee for every single day the car sits on his property. It is like owning a hotel for broken cars. Bob might charge $50 a day for storage. If a guy gets arrested and leaves his car in Bob's lot for 10 days, that guy owes Bob the $200 tow fee plus $500 in storage fees. That is $700 for one single job. And here is the craziest part of the impound business. Sometimes people never come back for their cars. Maybe the car is completely smashed from a crash and is worth nothing. Maybe the person does not have the $700 to pay Bob to get it out. Whatever the reason, the car just sits there. The law says that if a car sits in an impound lot for a certain number of days, usually 30 to 60 days, and the owner ignores the letters Bob sends them, Bob gets to keep the car. The city gives Bob the legal title to the vehicle. Now Bob owns the car. What does Bob do with the car? If the car is total garbage, Bob can sell it to a junkyard or a scrap metal recycling place for maybe $300 to $500. If the car is actually decent, Bob can clean it up and sell it at an auction for a few $1,000s. This is where the real money is made. It is not just about driving a truck. The secret to wealth in the towing business is real estate. The big towing companies do not make all their money on the road. They make their money by storing cars on pieces of dirt and collecting daily rent on those cars. But of course, the police contracts are very hard to get. You cannot just walk into the police station and say you want to tow for them. The police have high standards. They require you to have a giant secure lot with cameras. They require you to have a beautiful office. They require you to have millions of dollars in liability insurance. And they require you to have background checks on all your drivers. Plus, the established towing companies in town already have those contracts, and they will fight you tooth and nail to keep you away from their golden goose. The towing business can be very aggressive. It is a tough industry filled with tough people. Let us check back in on our friend Bob. Bob is learning that the towing business is not a magical money printer. It is a grind. It is hard, dirty, dangerous work. Bob thought he would be his own boss and have freedom. Instead, Bob's truck has become his boss. If Bob wants to make money, he cannot work Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Cars do not only break down when the weather is nice and the sun is shining. Cars break down at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Cars slide into ditches during terrible freezing snowstorms. Cars overheat in the pouring rain. If Bob's phone rings at 3 in the morning and it is freezing outside, Bob has to put on his boots, leave his warm bed, and go out into the dark to do a dangerous job on the side of the highway. If Bob says no, the customer will just call the next towing company on the list, and Bob loses the money. Bob realizes he does not have freedom at all. He is tied to his phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If we look at the average numbers across the whole country, a single tow truck operated by the owner will usually bring in somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000 a month in gross revenue. That sounds amazing. But remember Bob's bucket with the holes in it. Out of that $10,000, Bob has to pay $1,000 for insurance, $2,000 for diesel fuel, $1,000 for his truck loan, and $1,000 for maintenance and tires and oil changes. That leaves Bob with $5,000. Then Bob has to pay taxes. In the end, Bob might take home $3,500 a month. That is a completely normal average salary. Bob is working 60 or 70 hours a week, destroying his sleep schedule and risking his life in traffic just to make a normal middle-class income. So does that mean the towing business is a bad idea? Does that mean you should never do it? No, not at all. But it means you have to change your mindset. This brings us to the most important lesson, the lesson that separates the people who struggle from the people who become millionaires. And it is a lesson we talk about all the time on this channel. You cannot get rich if you are the one driving the truck. If Bob is sitting in the driver's seat, his income is permanently capped by how many hours he can stay awake. Bob only has two hands. He can only drive one truck. He can only do one tow at a time. The absolute maximum amount of money Bob can ever make is tied directly to his own physical energy. When Bob gets sick, the business stops. When Bob goes on vacation, the business stops. Bob has not created a business. He has just created a very stressful, very heavy, very expensive job for himself. To build a real business that makes real money, Bob has to step out of the truck. Bob has to use his profits to buy a second truck. And then he has to hire a driver for that truck. Now Bob has two trucks making money. Bob is making money from the labor of his new driver. Then Bob saves up and buys a third truck and a fourth truck. Eventually, Bob has 5 trucks running around the city. He is not driving anymore. He is sitting in a warm office, managing the dispatch software, answering the phones, and talking to the city council to try and win that golden goose police contract. Bob has transitioned from working in his business to working on his business. He has built a system. And that is the only way to build real wealth. The profit margins in towing are actually quite thin, usually around 10 to 30%, depending on how good you are at keeping your costs down. The only way to make thin profit margins turn into a big pile of cash is through volume. You need a lot of trucks doing a lot of tows every single day. Let us look at the path of continuous improvement. If you want to start a towing business, you do not just go out and buy a truck and hope for the best. You start by understanding the math. You call insurance companies first and find out exactly how much they are going to charge you. You call local mechanics and ask them what the most reliable tow truck engine is. You decide exactly what kind of towing you are going to focus on. Will you specialize in towing classic and luxury cars for private owners? Will you target auto repair shops and tell them you will tow all their customers for a slight discount? You make a plan. Then you focus on getting a little bit better every single day. You wash your truck every morning so it looks professional. When you show up to a customer who is stranded on the highway, they are usually having a terrible day. They are stressed, they are scared, and they are worried about money. Most tow truck drivers are grumpy and rude because they are tired. If you show up with a clean truck, a clean uniform, and a smile, and you treat that customer with empathy and respect, you will stand out immediately. That customer will save your phone number. The next time their friend breaks down, they will say, "Do not call a random company. Call my guy Bob. He is the nicest tow truck driver in the world." You build a reputation for reliability. When you say you will be there in 30 minutes, you are there in 25 minutes. You start saving your money carefully. You do not go buy a fancy personal car with your first month of profits. You keep putting the money back into a repair fund because you know the hydraulic system on your truck is going to break eventually, and you want to have the cash ready so your truck is only down for 1 day instead of 2 weeks. The economics of owning a tow truck are a perfect example of the difference between an illusion and reality. The illusion is that heavy machinery equals easy cash. The reality is that it is a tough, low-margin business that requires incredible discipline, mechanical knowledge, and customer service skills. But for the people who are willing to put in the hard work, build systems, hire good drivers, and eventually secure their own storage lots and city contracts, it can be a path to genuine generational wealth. There are many millionaires in the towing industry, but not a single one of them got there by accident. They got there by managing their expenses, fighting for good contracts, and treating their business like a real corporation instead of just a guy with a truck. So the next time you see a giant flatbed tow truck roaring down the highway with its yellow lights flashing, you will know exactly what is going on. You will know that the driver might be making $115 for that trip, but he has to pay for diesel, expensive insurance, and loan payments before he sees a single dime. You will know that the real money is in the fenced-in dirt lot where cars sit and accumulate daily fees. And you will know that the path to success in any business, whether it is towing cars, baking cakes, or building software, always comes down to building a system that can eventually run without you. That is how you turn a hard job into true financial freedom. If you found this video valuable, leave a like, subscribe, and comment below which business you want me to cover next.